Hey everybody, it's your buddy Zen with another Take 10 with Zen, where we take 10 minutes or less to talk about things of spirit, how to connect to this powerful, supernatural, eternal spirit being we really are, where I answer questions from my subscribers too. And we've been talking about how we can recognize our spiritual gifts, how we can expand them and use them, and then also how we can unclog and open up this beautiful pipeline of love energy that fuels all of our gifts from the other side. And really, when we look at it, probably everything falls, from the outside world falls into one of those, at least one of those three categories. Because if there is lower vibrational energies or experiences or whatever in the outside world, those are the clogs that impact that pipeline. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how we can redefine what it means to have a good day, because in looking at that and transforming that, we can open the floodgates of that love energy pipeline. We develop conditions, this list of description of what it has to happen in order for us to have a good day, right? So think of some of the things that are coming to your mind immediately, like, well, for me to have a good day, these things need to happen, or these things have to not happen in order for me to have a good day. And, it does, of course, vary from each individual one of us, because we've all been raised differently. And the good day syndrome has been passed down from generation. And we alter it and add different things into our lives and then pass it on. And then other, just rolls and snowballs and snowballs and snowballs, when there's so much that we need in order to have a good day. And it can start with, even before we're awake in the morning, with, quote, I have to have a good night's sleep in order to have a good day. What does that mean? Sleeping all the way through the night, or only being woken up 2 times, 5 times, 10 times? And of course, that definition can probably change throughout our lives and what circumstances we have, right? So I wonder if you ask parents with newborn babies, what would they think an amazing night is? Probably the first time their baby sleeps all the way through the night is definitely much more than a good night's sleep. Or do you have to wake up on time in order to have a good day? Have a good breakfast, have the kids do everything you've asked them to do, or even psychically pick up everything that you're wanting them to do and they just do it? That's probably even more than a good day, right? But a good breakfast to some could be any breakfast. If they've never had a breakfast before, because they only get 1 meal, maybe 2 meals a day. And maybe waking up in your own bed, even if it's late, is probably preferred to waking up in a hospital not knowing how you got there. See how good can mean so many things to so many different people, depending on their lives, their circumstances, the moment that they're in. Thankfully, we don't have to stay attached to a specific meaning for all of our lives. We have the power to redefine and transform those. I know when I grew up in Christianity, and so one of the things that they talk about is the tree of good and evil that was there in the beginning when, I don't believe in sin and hell and all those things. But what was interesting is that this tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that was what they said, don't eat of that because that ruins paradise. And that makes sense. That I can understand where that story comes from, because that is such a high knowledge that before we start judging things as good or evil, right or wrong, and all this stuff. We're in paradise when we're loving what is and flowing through life. But when we start judging and trying to define what this, that, there's all this fear assigned to it. And that's what draws our lower energy and our vibration drops. And that's what creates the chaos in all of our life. So I love that we are able to go, wait a minute, even though I ate of that tree for a lot of my life, I can change my diet from that of the tree of good and evil and start eating from the tree of life, which is of unconditional love, eternal unconditional love. So I just wanted to share that because with all this good, it just popped in of such an important realization that we have two trees that we could eat from, and when we're eating of this tree, we get what that does to our stomach. But when we change and start eating differently, it does change our life as well, which is interesting because this gets into all the different things that I can use to help transform my day. A great place to look at where we can transform our daily moment-to-moment, good, bad, or ugly, is by looking at what we are introducing into our conscious and unconscious brain through our five senses. What we look at, what we're bringing in through our eyes. So are we surrounding ourselves with beauty and simplicity, peaceful things, loving things? Or are we watching the news or whatever we're looking at, whatever we're bringing in with our eyesight is what happens. So if I'm looking a lot of social media that's about pain and suffering and complaining and victimhood and all these things, yeah, it's important to be aware of our surroundings, understand what's going on in the world to some extent. But if that's our main diet, then we understand how that's impacting us. And we can still have a good day no matter what we're seeing around in the world, but we can make it easier for us to choose a different way of looking at what good is when we start looking at what is lower vibrational, what is higher vibrational. But even if we have a lifetime of lower vibrational, we still have the power to choose what story we put to what we're seeing, what emotion we're feeling as we're going through it, what energy we're putting towards it, and also what physical actions we're taking toward it. And then we've got ears to hear, ears to listen. And so whatever not only what we're watching with our eyes, but what are we bringing in through our ears? Again, if we're listening to music that's about hate and bad things happening, quote, bad things, lower vibrational things of fear happening, that also influences our soul. It influences our brain and our subconscious. And we're making these choices. It's harder for us to choose higher vibrational love when we're listening to news of how bad things are happening everywhere and how everyone is in these arguments over politics or religion or whatever it may be. I mean, it's all over the place, right? Oh, there's wars, there's this, there's that. And it's, again, important for us to know what's going on in the world, supposedly. But back in the olden days, when there was I know this is hard to believe, don't freak out, before internet, before newspapers, before when the Pony Express, even before then, where back in the day, you didn't even know something happened until months, years, or maybe not even at all. You didn't know what was going over in Europe. Now we know it within seconds if something happens somewhere in the world. So really being aware of what we're bringing in with both our eyes and our ears, with this inundation of so many things in the outside world, is important. It's in our hands, right? I get to filter. And if you're like, well, I'm in a house where I can't control what people watch and what people listen to, well, you can control how much you're around it, but you can also just say, hey, is there any way that we can listen to something different? Have we thought about this? And they might be like, you're right, let's do that. And you might help influence others too, make it easier for them. But ultimately, what we choose to listen to, what brings us to a place of unconditional love and joy and peace and laughter and gratitude, look at those things, listen to those things. And I know taste seems kind of interesting, but also we can understand, why are we attracted to eating certain things? What are we putting in our mouth, right? What am I doing it to fill an empty space inside of me? Or am I really focusing on what is nourishing? What goes in my mouth and what leaves my mouth, right? What am I speaking and what am I eating? Even that can go into negative self-talk and lower vibrational. And when you start to look at, am I loving my body? Am I treating it like I'm loving it? These are things that we can do with that as well. And just being very aware of what I'm bringing in and what I'm spreading out through that vibration, through my actions out into the world. Which brings us into like touch. Touch is one of our senses, and how we touch other people's lives, how we feel touched, but also what are we doing with our touching? Am I extending my hand to touch those things that give me new experiences? Even touching a flower, touching the grass, touching the tree. Very interesting. Spirit's bringing through just right now how important it is we become so virtual that we've forgotten what touch is. Like touching a tree. We see a lot of trees, but actually touching one. The tactility, is that what it's called? The tactileness, the touching, the what something's made out of. It's actually just having that and embracing that is so important. So, touching animals, not like ones with rabies or anything, but, like your pets and calm animals that won't hurt us. Touching all the different elements of sand and rock and plant, and feeling the air, really looking at touch and sitting in the moment. We get so busy and so rushy that we forget to experience the things, right? Like stopping and smelling the roses, touching the rose. Don't pick the rose, get in trouble. I'm just kidding. But I love this touching, because we also, of course, next, like I said, stop and smell the roses. What we bring in through our sense of smell is so beautiful. If you ever have looked into essential oils, if you just smell something, and our body needs different smells at different times, but we have these nasal factory little, I totally am messing up what they're called, but there's this little sensors inside our nostrils, and then also within our bodies, of when we smell something, it can actually start activating different chemicals within our body. There's calming scents like lavender. There's like peppermint can make you wake up, and so that's why they have a lot of this, when you diffuse different odors, it helps change the mood, citrusy, upbeat, lavender, like I said, and some others are to calm, and we can use our sense of smell to bring in and transform our energies and make it easier for us to choose higher vibrational versus lower vibrational. Again, good is what we define something to be, and it's always in our hands whether we're experiencing higher vibrational or lower vibrational energy. But we can do all of these things to make it easier for us and maybe others to choose that higher vibrational love and maybe truly have a, quote, good day. And back in episode 14, I had talked about the singing bowls that I have. And so you can also add that into like the sensory if you want to check that out. The playlist is here linked at the end or down in the description box. But I talk about singing bowls, which we have back here, and how that vibration also assists us. So whenever we think we're having a good day or not having a good day, it's a great opportunity just to look at and go, do I really need anything to happen in order for me to have a good day? I love the meme that says, I choose to be joyful for no reason at all, and then no one can take it away. So hopefully all this information helped. If you have any questions on anything we talked about or any other comments on things you do to help make it easier for you to choose higher vibrational energy than lower, pop it down below. Or if you have any ideas of any future episodes, pop that down there. And if you don't feel comfortable sharing it with the world, I get it. You can also send me an email to brettazen@gmail.com and I'll answer you over there. All right, everybody, as you're going throughout this next week, please know every second of every day of your life that you, yes, you, are unconditionally loved by the Mother and the Father of all things, our Creator. And of course, I love you too. So until I see you again, much love to you. You hang in there and you take care.